All right, so your quiz is tomorrow on sections 5.1 and 5.2. Start with number 1. Find the indicated real nth roots of A. So we have that chart. Oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. Oops. Okay, so if our index is even and the number under our square root is positive, how many answers are we going to have here? 2. And what are those answers going to be? What are the signs? Plus or minus. So if it's even and positive, we have a plus or minus. So now let's find our factors of 16. So what are our factors of 16? 4 and 4. And then our factors of 4 are 2 and 2. And we're circling groups of how many? 4. So what's our answer? Plus or minus 2. All right, let's look at B. If it's odd and positive, how many answers are we going to have? Just 1. So what are our factors of 125? 5 and 25. What are our factors of 25? 5 and 5. We circle groups of how many? 3. So we have 5. What's our answer? Just 5. All right, C. We have the fifth root of negative 32. How many answers are we going to have here?
5.
How many answers? What's going to go in the box? Just 1, and it's going to be negative. What are some factors of 32?
8 and 4. Well, negative 8 and 4.
We don't need to worry about the negative because since it's odd and negative under our radical, our answer is going to be negative. So we're just going to find the positive factors because we already know the sign of our answer. So we said 8 and 4. 8 breaks down into what?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. And 4 is?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. We're circling groups of how many? So we circle
5.
all 5 of our 2's. What's our answer?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. All right, last one. If our index is even and under our radical is 0, what's our answer? 0. Perfect. Any questions on the first part? Nope. All right. Do you guys want me to do A or B for number 2? Both. Okay, we'll do both. So what should we do first here? So our goal is to get rid of that 1/3. We can divide both sides by 1/3, or we can just multiply both sides by 3, because that would be the same thing, dividing by 1/3 or multiplying by 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. This will cancel out that fraction, so we have x to the 4th power on the left side. What is 27 times 3? 81. Now, how do we get rid of that 4th power on our x? We take the 4th root of both sides. So it cancels out on the left. We're just left with x. And then now we need to find the 4th root of 81. What are our factors of 81? 9 and 9. And 9 breaks down into? 3 and 3. We're circling groups of how many? 4. So what's our answer? What's our sign for our answer? Is our index even or odd?
Even.
Even. So how many answers do we have?
2.
2. So what's our answer? Plus or minus 3. Perfect. So always gotta watch out for that index here, because that tells us we have 2 answers. All right, B. What's the first thing we should do here?
Move the 10 over.
Move the 10 over. So x cubed is equal to, what's 2 minus 10? Negative 8. What do we do next? The cubed root of both sides. So it cancels out on the left. What are factors of 8? 4 and 2. What are factors of 4? 2 and 2. We're circling groups of how many? 3.
3.
So x is equal to?
-2.
Awesome, -2. Since we had a negative under the radical, our answer had to be negative. Good work, guys. Okay, any questions on this
Thanks.
one? Which one do you guys want me to do from here?
C.
Let's do C. So first thing we want to do is get rid of that negative. How can we get rid of the negative? The
Another
reciprocal.
negative.
So we just switch it to the bottom. If we have a negative on the top, we put it on the bottom. If we have a negative on the bottom, we put it on the top. So this would be 16 to the 3/4. Everything else just stays the same. We just put it on the bottom of our fraction. So now we just want to simplify what's on the bottom of our fraction. We're going to leave the 1 and the division sign there. We're just going to simplify 16 and 3/4. So out of the 3/4, which number is our index and which number is our exponent?
4 is the index, 3 is the exponent.
Awesome. 4 is the index, 3 is the exponent. So let's find the 4th root of 16. What are factors of 16?
4 and 4.
4 and 4. And
4 2s.
4 2s. We're circling groups of how many?
4.
4. And then, what's our answer?
Plus or minus 2.
We don't have to worry about the plus or minus here when it gives us a fraction in our exponent. So it's just 2, but then we can't forget about that cubed.
And that'd be our answer.
Well, what's 2 cubed?
8.
2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So also, don't forget that that 8 was on the bottom of our fraction, so our answer here is 1/8. Alright, so let's look at A. So we have 64 to the 1/6 power. If our exponent is a fraction, what does that tell us? What do we do with the denominator in our fraction?
We put it on the, yeah.
We put it on the outside of our radical. That's our index. So we have the 6th root of 64. What are factors of 64? 8 and 8. And what are factors of 8? 4 and 2. So 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, 2, 2. We're circling groups of how many? 6.
6.
And so what's our answer? Plus or minus 2. All right, number 4. Which one do you guys want to see? A, B, or C? All right, we can do them both. So let's do A. How can we simplify this? What's our exponent on the 6 in the top? 1. And what happens if we're dividing two numbers with the same base? What do we do with their exponents to combine them? Dividing. We subtract. So division means we subtract. So we have 6 to the power of 1 minus 1/4. How do we subtract fractions? What do we need?
You make it into 4/4.
Awesome. We changed that 1 to 4/4. And what's 4/4 minus 1/4? 3/4.
3.
That's our answer. So when dividing numbers with the same base, to combine them, you subtract their exponents. I want to do B because that's a good one that you might see on the quiz. So when multiplying, what do we do to combine them? We add. So we have 4 to the negative 2 over 3 plus 1 over 3. How can we combine these?
Negative 1 over 3.
Negative 1 over 3. So 4 to the negative 1 over 3. But that's still to the power of negative 1. So what do we do?
Would that make a positive?
Awesome.
Wait, it would?
Yeah, what operation are we doing when we have an exponent raised to an exponent? What do we do with these two?
I don't even know.
What do we do? An exponent raised to the exponent. We multiply them. So we multiply these two numbers. So that's how we get the positive, because negative 1 over 3 times negative 1 is what?
Positive 1.
Positive 1 over 3.
Thank you.
So a power raised to a power, you multiply them. You gotta know that for your quiz. All right, any questions on that one? Ready for C? Okay, what can we do to simplify this? Awesome. We're distributing the 1/3 to the top and to the bottom. So just like we did in the last one, how do we distribute it? Multiply. So we have 9 to the power of 3 to the power of 1/3, negative 1/3, over 5 to the power of negative 1/3. So I'll just write out each step. So we said we multiply here. So what is 3 times negative 1/3?
9 2/3.
We're multiplying. So this is, I'll do it on the side so we can see it a little bit better. 3 times, yeah, negative 1. So this would be like 3 over 1. Multiplying fractions, you multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. So this would be negative 3 over 3, which is negative 1.
Wait, so when will we add? Because I thought it was like the multiplying that you...
Add is when you, like in the inside here, when we have the same base, to combine them as one, we add.
Oh, okay.
But when you have a power raised to a power, we multiply. So this
Okay,
is a
thank you.
power. Exponent raised to an exponent, multiply.
Right.
And then in our denominator, we have 5 to the negative 1 over 3. How can we simplify this more? What do we do if it has a negative exponent?
Can you switch the two?
Yeah, so we just flip them. Then 9 to the negative 1 goes to the bottom, but that 5 to the negative 1/3 goes to the top. And then both of their exponents become positive. So if it's on the bottom and it's negative, you can bring it to the top and make it positive. If it's on the top and it's negative, you bring it to the bottom.
Can you go to A just so I can see it?
Yes. Okay, any questions on number 4? Ready for 5? Oh, we still had more. All right, we can do D and E too. How do we simplify this?
E times 6 and 8.
Awesome. We can put them under the same radical. So we just multiply 6 and 8. Let's simplify it even more and see if we can take out any whole numbers. So what are our factors of 6? 2 and 3. What are our factors of 8? 4 and 2. So we have 2, 3. What are factors of 4? 2 and 2. We're circling groups of how many? 4. So we have 4 2's. So what comes out? And what are we left with?
A 3.
So that 3 stays under our radical. Any questions on this one? All right, E, what should we do? This one's kind of the same. How can we combine them?
10, 72, and 6.
Times 72 and 6, so we have the third root of 6 times 72 over the third root of 2. Can we combine this anymore? Other than multiplying the 6 and 72. Does the denominator have the same radical? Yeah, so we can put
Yeah.
it all under 1. So this is 6 times 72 over 2. Now we can simplify the inside. So the third root, let's see, 6 times 72 divided by 2. What'd you guys get?
432.
I got 216. 6 times 72 divided by 2. 216. So what are factors of 216? Three and 72. What are factors of 72? 12 and 6. What are factors of 12? 6 and 2. And our factors of 6? 3 and 2. So we have 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. So we're circling groups of how many? 3. So perfect, we have 3 3's and 3 2's. So what comes out? A 6. So a 3 and a 2 come out, which is 6. So from the start, this may not look like a 6, but once you combine everything on the inside and then simplify, it's a 6. Any questions? Ready for number 5? I think we're on 5. Yep. Ready for 5? You guys want to see A or B? Alright, we can do B. These two are actually pretty super similar. How do we simplify B? Our goal is to get the radical out of the denominator, so how can we do that? Awesome. We multiply the top and the bottom by its conjugate. So we have 4 minus square root 5, so we're multiplying it by 4 plus square root 5. Do you guys want to work with the top first or the bottom first? The bottom. All right, so how do we multiply 4 minus square root 5 times 4 plus square root 5? FOIL. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times square root 5? 4 square root 5. Negative square root 5 times 4? Negative 4 square root 5. And negative square root 5 times square root 5? Awesome, negative 5. Because the negative is there. But yeah, remember, square root 5 times square root 5 is 5. How can we simplify the bottom? Cancel out the square roots in the middle. And can we simplify anything else? What's 16 minus 5? 11. So we get 11 in our denominator. And then how can we simplify the numerator? What's 7 times 4? 28. What's next? Plus 7 square root 5. Can't forget that the 7 has to distribute to both. Any questions on this one? Alright, I think that's it for this page. Yeah. Let's look at 6. Which one do you guys want to see? A, B, or C? C? Alright. So we need to get that square root out from the denominator. Simplest form cannot have a square root in the denominator. So what do we need to do? Instead of factoring 8, when it's just the square root, this is like the easiest way to get it out of the denominator. Can we just multiply something to get a whole number?
8.
Square root of 8. So you would only need to find like the factors if you had anything in as an index here. So if it was like an index of 3, index of 4, you would want to find what the factors of 8 are and then find something that you would get a whole number to multiply. But anytime it's just a square root, we can multiply it by the same thing. What are we multiplying the top by? 8. Square root of 8. It always has to be the same. Alright. So on the top, what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 8?
Square root of 24.
Square root of 24. And on the bottom, what's the square root of 8 times the square root of 8?
Square root of 64.
What's the square root of 6? Awesome, 8. And let's see, can we simplify the top? So what are our factors of 24?
6 and 4.
6 and 4. What are factors of 6?
2 and 3 and 2 and 2.
2 and 3 and 2 and 2. We're circling groups of how many? 2. So we circle out our pair of 2's. What comes out?
Wait, how do you know that you're finding groups of 2?
Anytime it doesn't have a number as your index, it's implied that it's a 2. So like the square root is always implied that there's a 2 there. They just don't write it.
Then why didn't we find the square root for the numbers for 8 and then we multiplied the square root of 8 instead?
Because anytime you just have a square root with no index, so if the index is 2, just multiply it by the same thing because that'll give you a whole number. If your index was anything other than 2 out front, you want to find what you can multiply to give you a whole number.
Okay.
Alright, so back to simplifying on the top. We said we take out a 2. What are we left with on the inside? 6.
3.
We have a 2 and a 3 left on the inside, so we multiply them. 2 times 3 is 6. Over 8. Can we simplify this anymore? Maybe?
The 2 and the 8?
The 2 and the 8. So we can divide the top and the bottom by 2. So we just left with square root 6 on the top, and what do we get on the bottom? 4.
4.
So you guys gotta simplify it as much as you can. So let's do B. So what should we do first? Separate the top and bottom. What can we do next? What are factors of 4?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. So we need how many more 2's to get a whole number? 1 more.
1 more.
So what are we going to multiply by on the bottom? The cubed root of 2. And then what are we going to multiply on the top? Same thing, cubed root of 2. So what do we get on the top?
Cube root.
Cube root of 14. We just multiply the insides together. And then what do we get on the bottom?
Cube root of 8.
Cubed root of 8. What is the cubed root of 8?
2.
2. Perfect. This is the cubed root of 14 and 2. So let's check, can we simplify the cubed root of 14? All right, what are factors of 14? 7 and 2. Can we factor 7 anymore?
No.
Nope. So do we have groups of 3?
No.
Nope. So this is as simplified as we can go. Any questions? All right, let's look at 7. How can we simplify this? How can we combine them?
The 3 and 14.
So what's 3 minus 14?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. And what comes after that?
The cube root of x squared.
Just xy. It always stays the same. So this is like 3 apples minus 14 apples is just negative 11 apples. It just stays the same. Any questions there? All right, number 8. How can we add these together? What comes after?
X and 3 halves.
X, 16x to the 3 halves power. So if we had 12 apples plus 4 apples, that would just be 16 apples. Any questions? That's all we have to do for those. Those are like the easiest ones. Just add or subtract, whatever it tells you to do to the coefficients. It'll either be adding or subtracting. But you can only do that if what comes after it is the same. Okay, let's look at 9a. So we are simplifying. What do we need to do to simplify this?
Factor out the 64.
So what are our factors of 64?
8.
8 and 8. And our factors of 8?
4 and 2.
4 and 2. And 4 and 2. Factors of 4? 2 and 2. We're circling groups of how many? 3. So we circle 2 groups of 2. And what comes out? 2 2's, which is equal to 4. All right, what can we do next?
You factor the r to the 4th.
How can we factor the r to the 4th power?
You just like write out 4 4s
We can write out 4 r's.
and 1.
And then we're circling groups of how many?
3.
3.
4, 3. 4, 3.
3. So what comes out?
1 r.
1r. And what stays on the inside?
1 r.
1r stays on the inside. And then we have the s's next. So we can do what? Write out 8 s's. 2, 3, 4. I don't think my Apple Pencil has enough power to write out 8 s's. But how many are we taking out?
2 groups, so 2 s's.
So we're taking out 2 s's. So how would we write that? If we
Squared.
s squared, because we take out 2 of them. And then what are we left with on the inside?
2 s's, so s squared.
And we're left with 2 on the inside. So then, in our answer, what's left on the inside?
RS squared.
RS squared. Remember, another way we can do it is we can divide. So if we have r to the 4th power, if we divide by 3, it goes in once, so we would take out an r, and then whatever's left over stays on the inside, so then we would have 1 left over. So if you don't want to write out all 8 of the s's, you can always divide. So if we divide 8 by 3, so s, so 8 divided by 3, 3 goes into 8 twice, so 2 s's come out, and we have 2 left over, so 2 stay on the inside. So another way of doing that. If you want to write out all 8 s's, go ahead, write them all out. But if you had like 27, you may want to divide. You could still write them out if you wanted to. Whatever gets you to the right answer. All right, last one, 9b. What should we do? Separate the top and bottom. So we have the 5th root of k to the 5th power and the 5th root of n to the 7th power. What can we do next? That's okay, but we can write out all the k's. So we have 5 k's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're circling groups of how many? 5. So what comes out? Okay. What do we do on the bottom? Write out 7 ends. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Circling groups of how many? 5. So we have 1 end that comes out. How many left on the inside?
2.
2. But we can't have a square root in the denominator. So how do we get rid of it? What did we do
Put on
before?
Top.
Multiply what? But we have the 5th root. So we need to find out what gives us a whole number n. So how many n's do we have on the inside? 2. So this should be n and n. How many are we missing to make this a whole n? 3. So we multiply the 5th root of what? N cubed. So what we do on the bottom, we have to do on the top. So the 5th root of n cubed. So what do we get on the bottom? We already had an n on the outside. And n squared. And then what do we get on the top? We had a k times the 5th root of n cubed. Can we combine these together? No. So it's just k times the 5th root of n cubed.